So we use the data and use the automation. And the minute that we see a behavior that we're like, we don't like that behavior, we've sent you a warning shot. We gave you all the docs. You're still continuing to blow the support department up in a way that we don't want to see. Now we're going to have a human being reach out to you and say, Maxime, buddy, so glad that you're using workflows, right? Looks like you're struggling a little bit. More than likely, you're going to be shocked that a person is reaching out to you. Wait, how did you know that? "Oh, I knew that because Steve told me." "Oh, well, how did Steve know that?" Because Steve's always watching, but it's not Steve. It's his AI tools that are on the back end that are always watching and saying what's normal and what's not normal.
Hi guys, hope you're doing great. Hi Steven.
How's it going?
Good, good. So we're gonna wait like 30 seconds to 1 minute, waiting for the different people to join. If you can hear us and everything is working great, I would appreciate like a little message so we know everything works seamlessly, and we'll start super soon. You're ready for this, Steven?
I am. I am excited about this. Not just ready for it. I'm excited about it.
Cool. So Steven is based in Las Vegas, the US, and I'm currently in Paris, France. So
Correct.
that's gonna be exciting.
God bless technology, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I think we're gonna start. So if some people are joining later, like anyway, they'll catch up. So yeah, as a quick intro, so I met Steven I would say a few weeks ago, and we started to chat about support, right? And quickly we were talking about like human support, which I think it's pretty interesting in this time because like we're just hearing so much about AI, automation. So I think it's a perfect moment, right, to dig out the subject. So Steven, maybe like so first, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Time. Maybe you could start with a very quick introduction of what you're doing at Gainsight, so everyone can know a bit more about you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my name is Steve. I've been with Gainsight for about 7.5 years, almost 8 years. So I think in SaaS years, that's like 28 years. But I am the grandfather of Gainsight support team. My role within the support organization, my technical title is the senior director of enterprise support, but I do manage all of our US support team. So we have a tiered system at Gainsight. We have level 1 and level 2 analysts. We have paid support, an enterprise, what we call our enterprise support package. And then we have our standard support, which just comes with the software as well. So at this point in time, I manage all the different products, all the different service levels that we've got within the Gainsight. So yeah, just super excited to have this conversation to talk about this. As you said before, like Chat GPT, AI, you log into LinkedIn and it's like just a rolling Chat GPT is all that I have. So
which we're not against or anything, just to be clear, like we love automation and
I use Chat GPT. Absolutely. And I think it's great that we're gonna spend a few talking about, how to make it work for you. So
and just a quick question. How big is a full support team at Gainsight, just to have a rough idea of like, what we're talking about?
yeah. So when I started years and years and years ago, I can't remember exactly what number I was, but I want to say within the top 10. We're closer to 100 now. It's hard to keep track because we are such a big team. Entries and exits come almost every week at this point in time, so it's hard to keep a specific number on it. But I want to say the last time I checked, we're north of 70, steaming towards the 100 on the agent portion of it. When you start to talk about managers and ops and all that stuff that we have, it's a pretty significant team that we have.
Got it. So guys, I'm basically gonna ask question to Steven. We don't really know where it's gonna go because like this is such a broad topic, but if at any moment you have any questions, feel free to ask them, and we'll pause obviously and be able to answer them. So maybe Steven, maybe we could start with your definition of what is human first support, so we're sure like we are all on the same line.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I do think it's where we start because I think there can definitely be some misconceptions based on this concept of human first, especially in the landscape of AI and all of those things today. The one disclaimer that I will make is the company that I work for, Gainsight. If you go to our website and you look at the top, there's a giant banner, unless marketing has changed it, which they are sneaky like that. They do change it from time to time. It says that we are proof that you can be human first while living in business. So it's an advantage that I have, in my opinion, right, over a lot of people, especially in this space, where my company strives to be human first while winning in business and might allow me the flexibilities and freedoms to be a little bit more human first than another organization. So I like to tell individuals that I think as part of as we go through this conversation, we'll talk about how important it is to have the team and the organization built in on these philosophies and concepts, because if not, then you're going to have a problem. So what is human first, right? What human first is not is manual. It's not, hey, we're just going to hire a whole bunch of people and we're just going to have everybody do everything manual. What human first to me is, in the context of support, is that I think a lot of people want automation. A lot of people want self-service. A lot of people want the benefits that come along with those, but a lot of people are overusing them. A lot of people are over processing. A lot of people are shoving AI down people's throats to the point where I think the human concept of the support team gets lost. So my hot take in this is that depending on what product that you have, at least for my product, when somebody hits the submit a ticket button, meaning that we have exhausted our self-service options of them going through the documentation, the walkthroughs, all of the things that we've given them that should be able to support them in this cause, that what they really do want is a human. It doesn't mean that I'm going to give them a human all the time. It means that they want a human. One of the talks that I did a while ago, we worked with Forrester and Gardner on market research, specifically around paid support packages and the willingness for customers to purchase paid support packages. Some of the statistics around those are kind of alarming, to the tune, especially in B2B, that 80% of customers are willing to pay more for the service that they're getting. Well, one of the stats that they threw around as part of that was, even in the B2C space that we don't think a lot about when we live in this B2B world that we're in right now, Discover Card. Everybody knows Discover Card. Everybody knows around the world, right? Well, they ran a campaign about 10 years ago, and they ran a whole bunch of commercials. A lot of people probably remember the commercials. They had a bunch of, not celebrities, they were regular people that were working in the call centers. They were like Discover people. And whenever somebody picked up the phone and called Discover, they were no prompt. Somebody picked up the phone, as long as you purchased their Premier card, right? Wasn't for everybody. It's a Premier card. You call in, you say, hey, I'm having a problem. You're immediately met with a person that says, hi, I'm Maxime. Thanks for calling Discover. How can I help you? Their sales for that card skyrocketed 66% when they ran that commercial. Why? Because when people have an issue, what they want is a human. Now, we can't deliver that all the time, right? Again, going back to like, what is human first? It doesn't mean only human first. So human first just means that in the interactions that you're having with the customers, you're using these automated tools to help give your humans the time to be able to be real, authentic people, when in fact you are calling on them to have conversations with your customers in real time. So I know it's a very long explanation there, but I think it's a pretty broad.
Yeah, and it made me think also, like, if just I like also to think about like how customer see your support, right? Like, just like from the outside, like how does it look like? And I feel like somehow the way you built it needs to thread that if you have an issue or if you have a problem, you'll get a human in front, Yep. Because in my own experience, like B2B, B2C, when you're trying to reach a human and you can't, I think it's just like it's terrible, right?
Yep.
So I like to see it this way too, like about like how customer perceive your support teams, and be human first would be like, just like, like if there is like a complex issues, or if you're VIP customers, you'll be able to reach out to a human, right?
Yeah.
If we jump to the benefits of providing a human first support, what will come to your mind first?
Yeah. Along with the topic of telling the tale of two different stories, I'll give credit to the company that I had an amazing experience with, but I'm not going to name drop the company that I did not have a great experience because I don't want to. I'm of that camp there, right? So as we talked about, like human first to me doesn't mean that you can't have automation or you can't have intelligence. I'll call it intelligence. I don't even want to call it automation. I'm going to call it intelligence, right? Because automation is nothing unless it's smart automation, right? I have a subscription. The company I had a great, amazing experience with was Disney, Disney streaming services, right? I recently added my wife's email to my streaming service as a backup recovery email. I wasn't thinking anything of it. I got an email one day that said, hey, make sure your account's secured and you don't get locked out of your account. Add a recovery email to your account. So I put my wife's email on there. I went on with my life. 2 to 3 weeks later, I get an email in my inbox that says, hey, you might actually be paying for two different subscriptions based on the recovery email that you put on your account because you have that one's paying, you're paying, they're paying. Click this button and come talk to an account specialist and we'll get this figured out for you. I clicked the button, immediately was routed to their chat, which was a real person. Hi, my name's so-and-so. Let me look into your account. Let me take a look. Not only did they fix it, but they refunded me 6 months, right? Now,
Right.
flip that around. Not going to name the other company, but it is a very popular payment processing company. While COVID was going on in the pandemic, my friends and I had an online gaming tournament business that we ran. Super fun, super successful, had a blast doing it while everybody was locked up inside. 2 days before we ran our biggest tournament that we did, we had a small, stupid little issue with our payment processing company, which had our account like, not like suspended or anything, but just locked, right? So no payments could come in, no payments could go out. And they put like a 48-hour hold on the account. The reason they did that was they said that we didn't submit our LLC paperwork, which we certainly did. We did it like 3 times, right? So we're urgently on their support. We're calling them. We're emailing them. I'm at
No way.
Twitter mentioning, I'm help me, help me, help me. I really need your help because you not answering is going to seriously tarnish the reputation of my business, which is everything that I have is the reputation of my business when you're doing this type of a thing. So the one company had automated everything to death. Nope, we're going to have chatbots. You can't call us. You can't email. If you do, it's going to take 48 hours and the person's going to send you back a templated response that you know is a templated response and doesn't even make sense because it's not even referencing the issue that you have. I canceled my relationship with them immediately, right? Flip that around to
Yeah.
Disney and like they're going nowhere. If I stopped using the product, I'm still probably going to renew with them because of the lady on the phone or on the chat that day. And because of the fact that they were willing, in the sake of being a good partner with me and to keep my business as a customer, they were willing to forgo charging me. Like, think about that. What other company wouldn't just double charge me for my subscription until I figured it out? Because who cares? I'm going to subscribe anyway.
So it's funny because what you're saying somehow shows the importance of I would say support, because in one case you love the company, you love Disney. In the other case, you just basically uh, you're not a customer anymore, right? So you churn.
Yeah.
So I feel this enhance like importance of support. Sorry, in the B2B SaaS world at least. I mean in general, but I like to think B2B SaaS. And like I feel nowadays we get, I mean, a company have more and more competition, and somehow the product is like great, like everywhere. And so two different things that really makes a difference. Maybe it's like the branding, so the positioning and like the way like people see your brand. And I feel the experience people have with your support team. So in a world where tomorrow you're going to have like 5 companies who do exactly the same thing and the support is great, you're going to pick one because either you love the brand or either like, you have a real human and real connection with human and you feel deeply connected. So I think human support first to me means like competitive advantage, like in the near future. So, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and the study that we did, going back to the stats around the enterprise paid support, there's a lot more research done in the B2C space, but they say again, up to 70% of customers will leave an organization over one bad experience. Now, it's not that easy in B2B. There's contracts, there's legal, there's renewal dates, there's politics, there's all sorts of things that go into it. So I haven't gotten a handle on what the true stats are in the B2B world, but doesn't that just speak for itself though? Because even if you have an individual that's operating in a B2B space, aren't we preconditioned as individuals at this point to be B2C? And don't you kind of expect a little bit from the B2C from your B2B partners just because we're preconditioned in a world of Netflix and Hulu and Apple and all these different things? So I think the lines are becoming a little bit blurred. And I agree with you. Like, I think what sets you apart these days is your service. There's very rarely do you have a product that's unicorned enough that nobody can emulate the product experience itself. There are a couple that are out there and good for them, right? But the vast majority of it relies on the people that are out there. So, I mean, I think that kind of segues into the next topic as well, which is the like, how do you use the two together and how we're
Yeah.
using the two together? We absolutely use AI and we use AI automated tools. What we don't do is we don't use front loaded AI chatbots. Now, Maxime, we talked about this in the conversation we had when we first started talking about this. If you are doing simple tasks, and some of you are, billing, password reset, things that you really legitimately can have a bot do, I'm not against that by any means at all. Most of what we get with my organization are error codes, which are not easy error codes. We have to go into our backend system and look them up. And then we got a lot of what I call if and or questions. I'm building a workflow. If I do this or if I do that, what's going to be the
Yeah.
output to the result? Now, I will tell you, there's not an AI in 2023 that we can feed in all of our documentation. We can say, now here's all the tribal knowledge that we have about our application, right? Now, here's what the customer high level from a business case wants to accomplish. How do they do it? Your AI is going to go, I'm sorry, I'm not programmed to be able to do that. So we then in return use those tools for our agents. We give those tools to our agents to be able to bridge those gaps, right? So we let our agents look at, for example, Chat GPT. We'll just use them as the generic example that everybody knows to say, hey, I'm looking at a 404. I'll use a generic 404. What information do you have for me to be able to do that? And that has shortened their time to be able to find information by half, right?
Yeah.
Now, the second thing that we do is everything within AI uses natural language processing. I went on 20 demos for AI tools, and
Yeah.
every single one of them said, we use the most sophisticated natural language processing, natural language processing, natural language processing. We use natural language processing to be able to indicate when our customers are mad or frustrated or when it's an urgent issue. So today, if somebody puts in a ticket as low priority and writes urgent all over it in caps and puts urgent, this is a big deal, this is a huge problem.
You know, you can
Without,
route them to, yeah.
but without NLP, that would just sit there in the low queue until a human being looked at it and said, crap, this is urgent. Make it as urgent. We use NLP for somebody to come in, say, hey, this is urgent, urgent, urgent. That will flag the case for a manager to say, hey, case says low, but the customer says urgent. You may want to jump in and you may want to take a look at it. And we use the same for the agents too, right? So if they're working on a case and a customer says, well, this is garbage. This has happened 3 times in the last 2 months. That's an indicator that we'll use NLP to be able to pick up on it. So we do absolutely use it. We use AI a ton internally. We use it to sort through docs. We also use federated search. Federated search and AI, I think, kind of go hand in hand. And I'm wanting to see which one is going to figure it out in the near future of having both of them all at the same place. That'd be great.
What I like about like I'm hearing is so first basically you say like let's say even the best chatbot today can't help calm an angry customer, can't help investigate a thorny issue, or even build a rapport with high value customers, right? Like your team can.
Yep.
But from from what I understand, like you guys are using a bunch of intelligence, automation, AI. I don't even know how to call it.
Yep.
But I like to see, like let's call it the front end, which is basically what the customer see and experience, and the back end, which will be like what your team and your agents use, right? And from what I understand is like at Gainsight, you're using a bunch of like intelligence, but for the support backend to help improve the experience or like just like help like resolve a ticket faster, and provide the right answer, get more context about the issue. But at the end, the experience the end user, the customer is having on the front end is like human first. You talk to
Yep.
human. Is that correct, right?
100%. So like, let me ask you a hypothetical question to frame it, right? The world's greatest chat bot would be the chat bot that you couldn't even tell was a chat bot,
Yeah.
right? So again, human first doesn't even, if done correctly, have to be done by a human. But you hit the nail on the head is that it's experience, 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 right? You can lead with a chatbot, but what I would definitely use is natural language processing on the back end to where if a customer says, hey, give me a human, it immediately shuts that conversation down and gets them a human being, right?
Yeah.
In the process of that, you have to like when you're in the frustrated situation with the chatbot and the chatbot says like, I can't understand your question, can you rephrase it differently? It seems that you want to talk to a human. Can you provide me just a few more details so I can make that happen? Your frustration level goes from like, man, this is annoying to holy
Yeah.
cow, this is
Man, funny because like true story, every time I'm opening a chat, 95% of the time, I just type talk to a human and I
yep,
enter this.
yep.
Always,
Mm-hmm. It's
This is my
terrible.
personal experience.
Exactly. Right. Now, if you again had a bot though that was like super helpful and friendly, and that's where, I do think the personality skills are developing as that to me is what's changing. Because like I'll be honest, like none of what I've seen is new. I would really like to see somebody come in here and say, like, this isn't what Siri has laid the foundation and Alexa's laid the foundation for 10 years now. It's just getting more and more and more intelligent. You're being able to train it more and more and more and more. That to me is the difference and why it's becoming all the buzz now, along with the commoditization of it. Like if we were to address the elephant in the room here, I hear it all the time, like, well, I'm worried that chatbots and AI are just going to replace me as a support agent, right? And my response back to that is that if you're getting replaced by AI and a chatbot, you really aren't getting replaced by AI and a chatbot. You should have done a better job of providing more value and more service, right, to your organization. Because, I mean, there may be some organizations that are out there that are literally paying people to just simply do a password reset or to simply do a, this or that. But that is what is going to be changing. And if that's the case in the situation that you're in, my
That's great.
recommendation is to up
I mean,
level skills.
I mean that's great in a sense that as a customer, if I have an issue with a password, I don't expect to talk to a human. I just want my password issue to be solved, and my
Bingo.
life can go on, right?
And we do that. Like we haven't rolled out if I had a way to front end filter that and truly get like, okay, these are the ones that we can do out. Cause like I could do technically, I think password resets through it. But even though we don't have that today, we've automated the process for the agent at least, right? For them to be able to come in, click a button, get that done, and boom, we're on our way. That's the time down from asking ops for a request by opening up a Jira ticket and waiting 6 hours to a 30-second operation. And we do that with all sorts of stuff like feature flags and stuff too. So, again, we probably 4 or 5 different automation tools in conjunction with each other, but each and every single interaction that we have is rooted in the human first nature. And I can honestly say that our team is 100% irreplaceable with AI and
That's
technology.
great.
Yep.
That's great. And you mentioned that at the beginning, and I know it also obviously depend on the type of market and product you have, right? And I feel, like let's call because somehow like human first support is what we could what people call high touch support, maybe. And,
Yep.
like I like to see like low touch support, like basically automated support to make it very easy. And I feel like if you have like customer who pay like 200K like per year, obviously like you're gonna tend to provide them like with human support. But in case where you have a product-led growth company, people are tending to do like self-serve, self-serve, self-serve. I guess the point is just to be able to provide the most self-serve possible for like a certain type of request and make sure like a human can just like when you have a complex issue or like when you need like empathy or like, um,
Yep.
so
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not gonna lie, we do segment, right? I do have a subset of paid customers that are assigned a POC, point of contact. It doesn't work every tickets. They don't work every ticket for the customer because that's not scalable, but they are assigned escalations, high and urgent priority tickets. They do get white glove treatment. And if I were to tell you that they didn't, I'd be flat out lying. The one thing I will say, though, which I thought was a little bit interesting in what you had brought up, is our low touch customers and a shift that I am seeing in just the overall customer success market, but in particular can be done for support. We do, in my opinion, as all of this is, give our low touch customers as as human first of a process as physically possible by running them through what we call customer journeys. Are you familiar with a drip campaign in marketing and how you
yeah,
send somebody some content, you observe the behavior that they have, and then that drives the next piece of content, and so on and so on and so on. Marketo, I believe, they're probably not the founders, but they're who introduced me to the concept of drip campaigning. Our tool, Gainsight, does something that's similar, multi-step email tools. So when we talk about using technology for a human first led approach, we look every day at number of tickets that are coming in from our customers and where our tickets are coming in within our feature areas within the product. Okay. Step one, how many tickets have customers put in for workflows in the last 30 days? Fetch me everybody that's put in more than 10 tickets. Step one of that journey is for them to get all of the information, documentation, webinars, links, whatever we have on workflows. Hey, Maxime, looks like you've been using our rules product, our workflow product. That's great. It seems like you've been struggling, right? Here's all the documentation that we have. Let us know if you have anything or we can be helpful at all by clicking this link that takes you to a human being. They don't click the link. They look through the documentation, and let's assume that the situation doesn't get any better. You put in a wait for 30 days. 30 days later, you measure again. If it's gone down, you've succeeded. No need for a human, right? Drop them out of the journey and let them go on their way. But if that ticket volume has stayed the same or go up, you have a variety of things you can do. Maybe you invite them to a live in-person webinar specifically about workflows. We have these things that configuration experts at Gainsight do called open office hours, which are twice a week for an app that they can come in and they can pick these individuals' brains. We also have a wide variety of services that we can sell them, including premier support and professional services and education opportunities. So we use the data and use the automation. And the minute that we see a behavior that we're like, we don't like that behavior, we've sent you a warning shot. We gave you all the docs. You're still continuing to blow the support department up in a way that we don't want to see. Now we're going to have a human being reach out to you and say, Maxime, buddy, so glad that you're using workflows, right? Looks like you're struggling a little bit. More than likely, you're going to be shocked that a person is reaching out to you. Wait, how did you know that? I knew that because Steve told me. Oh, well, how did Steve know that? Because Steve's always watching, but it's not Steve. It's his AI tools that are on the back end that are always watching and saying what's normal and what's not normal. And then again, I always recommend that when you see standard of deviations from standard and you start to see customer behaviors that are in a negative way, that's your moment in time to have a human being in an intelligent way come in and say, hey, I think you want to talk to me, right?
when I'm hearing your example, like what comes to mind for me, just like, and it's something obvious, but like it's really about like, like at the end is about like putting the agent's time to something that is valuable to the company, right? Because like if we go back back in the year, basically in a world where you don't have like any automation, you had a queue, right? And agents were just like answering like tickets after tickets in the queue, like from like, hey, I have a billing problem to the most complex issue or like VIP customer, right? And so what we're doing right now with automation, and this is what you're basically mentioning when you're talking about like the balance between automation and human first and how the two, sorry, can help each other is automation can help you free time for the agents in order to accomplish like valuable and critical whatever they
Yep.
need to do to provide like support. So they're really like complementary, right? Maybe I'm thinking out loud, but maybe like the big play here is like use AI, use automation, use intelligence to be able to provide human support every single time it's needed. And by needed, this depends on obviously your product and what you're offering. But I like that.
Like, and any time that you're forward exposing this technology to customers, that's the most important, in my opinion, CSAT that you need to be taking a look at. If you're measuring CSAT and you go to any automation forward facing, make sure you're keeping an eye on it and reading what people say. Again, talk about AI, right? We use AI to follow up on bad CSAT,
All
right?
CSAT stuff,
Because when
yeah.
people are mad and they're upset, that flags the case, for us to
Mm.
be able to jump in and jump in proactively. And like you said, like, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. We've seen time savings for agents and the fact that, like, if you can imagine, customer submits a ticket, that tool is able to find you all of the relevant internal content. That's going to save you the time to be able to put, hopefully all of my agents are using that time to craft a very personable, nice, friendly response back up to the customer. But like managers too. Maxime, we used to, every time somebody would put in a ticket, it would go into our general ticket queue, and our managers would open up the ticket, read the area that the customer said that the feature, right, of the product that they're using. Then he would scan the ticket, make sure that it was actually for that feature, look at the priority, use his best judgment to say, yeah, the customer put this in as low, but they probably just didn't fill the field out because obviously they said this is a really big deal. We need your help immediately. And they would do that for every single ticket. Now the ticket comes in, ticket gets looked at, it gets scanned, it gets routed to where it needs to go. And that frees up managers' time to be able to then help the agents whose time is being freed up on the front end as well.
And I feel both for manager and agent, just make your work much more interesting because basically just free up to all the boring shit. I'm sorry, but this
Yep.
is a reality, right? And just let you do a job which is much more fulfilling at the end of the day. I believe, support always have been seen, to my opinion, like I'm gonna be careful to the word I'm using here, but like let's say it this way, like the support industry has never been like the sexiest of all. And I think actually like automation, AI, and the future of like human first support, like where we are heading, gonna make like the industry much more sexier. We're gonna need like people with different skills, with higher skills. So we're probably gonna see also, I would say, raise of salaries, because like we are looking for different skill sets. So I think there is a lot of thing like changing here, but it's for the good, right?
Yep. 100%. No, and one thing that I will say, and I think a lot more organizations can do it. The organizations that I talk to that are like, no, we can't do that after the conversation, it's like, well, maybe we can do that. If you truly want to make yourself sexy, start selling it.
Yeah.
You want to make yourself sexy, have the VP of sales know your name. Have the CRO at the organization say, ooh, wow, 18% of ARR, get $1 million customer, guys. That's a
Yeah.
lot of freaking money, right? So we have for about 5 years now been charging for the service, the enterprise service that we have. More than happy offline to meet with anybody. That's a whole different fireside chat that we can have and how to monetize the support department fully. But that is one thing that really does help us, especially when it comes to resourcing, right? When it comes down to the low touch model, we do use low touch resources to solve tickets as much as physically possible. And it speaks to exactly what you just said. Our enterprise agents work a lower case volume than our standard agents do because we want them logged into our AI tools 50% of their day, watching the customers from the back end to be there. And we got to free up time for them to be able to swoop in when we tell them. Like if I'm a boss that says like, hey, human first, whenever you see somebody that needs a human, jump in. And they're like, I can't do that, man. I got 50 tickets that I'm working this week. It's never going to work, right? So you have to make sure that like, if you're going to tell them and give them the directive to be that way, that you have to free up the time and energy for them to be able to do that. The reason that we're able to do that, Maxime, is because we charge for the service, right? So what we don't do internally is I don't run like I don't have a quota. I don't have a book of business that I like, I wholly support the sales team in whatever they need to be able to sell this. And we do have goals, but I don't own those goals. But I understand that my place in that is so important to help drive revenue for our organization. And that in turn is what gets you, like you start showing them money, they will start listening to what you have to say. I promise you that. Promise.
Do you think like in the upcoming years we will tend to see like more and more companies we're gonna charge for support? What's your take on that?
Yeah, so in the last 2 years alone, there's been a 60% increase in paid support packages being sold in the B2B space. So that is mind blowing to me to think about the organizations that have been doing it for a long time, like we have, and the fact that like just in this short time frame, 60% increase in the customers that are doing it. It just I hate like speaks to what we're saying, Maxine, is like we can automate all day long. When my customers know that they have somebody to reach out to that's going to help them, they renew the package nonstop.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, makes sense. But I guess you can't do that with all the product. I'm thinking about like when you sell some license of like, I don't know, if you sell something $200 per month, that's gonna be tough, like to sell support. But in the different pricing, what I've seen, like for I would say this company who have like smaller packages, what they are doing is like depending of the packaging, they offer, let's say, different like SLA or different, like, but you can see like there is like a different support level or depending of, like the how critics is the issues kind of thing. So there is a bunch of stuff you can play around here and
yeah,
try. So there is
I think response time alone, I think sells the package and then dedicated PSC. One thing that kind of knocked me out of my chair the other day too, I almost didn't believe it. I told you I live out in the Las Vegas area. We moved out here in July of last year and I had to get a new internet company. The internet provider that I had back in St. Louis is not the same one that's out here. I pay 40 USD, I think, for internet, maybe $50 for internet. I own a premium support package with my internet. And this was the first time in my adult life, and I've had 7 different internet companies in my adult life, that the person when I paid that when I was on the phone with them said, hey, we have this premium support package, automatic front of the line on the queue when you call in, right? No service calls if we have to send somebody out to your house, and very limited, but we can run Ethernet within reason. I'm not going to run Ethernet through your whole house, but if you need a room wired for Ethernet, we'll be able to do that for the low price of $6 a month. I like set the phone down and I'm like, I've never in the B2C space ever been offered a premium support package. But if you look at the things that I truly want out of support for my internet provider,
just when it goes down, you want one. Sure.
when there's an outage going on, you're going to be number 998 out of 1,000. And if you have premium support, you're going to call in and you're going to be number 23 out of 1,000 because you have the premium support and they guarantee you that you're going to be bumped up to the front of the queue and get the next available caller within reason. It's the same reason that people pay for a fast pass when they go to Disneyland, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So the premium services are there. That's why I said, like, a lot of people that don't even know that they could monetize on it, they're losing money. They're missing
Yeah.
out on money that's walking right through. A lot of people churn in the support department. A lot of opportunity money is missed in the support department because support by nature, as you said, are not salespeople, right? We are not. I have a sales background, but 98% of my staff comes from a very technical, non-sales
Okay.
background.
Yeah. So, Steven, maybe to go back to human support because we move like to paid packages. Anyway, I remember when we had a chat like to talk about like this webinar, you mentioned to me how important it is to have a human first culture internally in order to provide, like a human first support. Can you tell me a bit more like what you meant by that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we, like even briefly touched on it earlier. For me, what it starts with is you have to practice what you preach. It's very, very easy to stand up in the front and say, as I said earlier, like, you got to do this, you got to do that. We got to lead human first. We do this stuff, but then not give them the time, not give them the flexibility to be their real, authentic selves. We do GIFs, GIF, whatever you want to call them, memes. We self-deprecate. We laugh at ourselves. We let our agents be funny because that's what people be funny. If you don't allow your agents to be their authentic selves and you think that there's going to be a human first aspect to your business, you're sorely mistaken, right? So it doesn't have
Yeah.
to be John Belushi. It doesn't have to be Animal House. It doesn't have to be Will Ferrell and the guys as a giant party that's going on. But, you can use humor to bridge an uncomfortable situation sometimes. You can laugh at yourself over an unfortunate situation that might make your customer be a little bit more empathetic to you. I always tell my folks, the more they see you as a human being, the nicer they are going to be to you. If they see you
Yes.
as a robot,
Uh,
as somebody
yeah.
that's just copy and pasting text, they're like, whatever, So I think that's what it boils down to, right? Is that you have to like as a leader, I don't want to say force it, but at points you may even have to force it, right? If it's not taking place. So like I think you have to just make sure that the agents really truly feel comfortable. And that's when they feel comfortable to be themselves. And then if they make a mistake, they're not going to get yelled at, they're not going to get criticized for it. That allows them to be their authentic selves, right? And then you've got to give them the time. Like I said, if you don't give them the time and you're just, you know, shooting them over 40 hours of ticket work every single week, there's no way.
No,
There's
yeah.
no way. By the 20th hour in the week, they're going to be burnt out, even if they do exactly what it is that you've asked them to do.
Yeah, definitely. No, super insightful. Super insightful. Yeah, got it. And I was wondering, do you guys use a specific metric to measure, sorry, the success of your human first support approach? Or like if we look at really like human first support approach, like how do you track that? How do you measure that? Like,
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So, the two metrics that we look at internally around satisfaction, I think in the organization of support, we focus 100% of the time on CSAT and we let everything else just kind of blinders go off to the side. I'm a big believer in CSAT for short term, NPS for long term. Companies are obsessed with sending out NPS, my company included, NPS for the product itself. How would you rate my company on a scale of 1 to 10? Well, if you were to ask a lot of people what their relationship is with their vendors, a lot of them would probably tell you it's complicated. I love them. I hate them. I love to hate them sometimes. But overall, I love them. That is not reflected on a, hey, out of 1 to 10 scale. Make
yeah,
sure that you do. So what I would recommend is absolutely send your CSAT on your cases to measure your satisfaction. As I said earlier, if you are doing any exposing of a non-human, a chatbot, basically, right? Or any kind of a interface that a person is getting a service from you without interacting with a physical human being, every one of those should have a survey that goes out, right? You may not be sending them out for every single case that a human's working. Make sure you're sending it out for every single case and you're actually reading them and you're actually taking action. If you see them giving you very critical feedback, make sure you're jumping in, at least reaching out to them, talking to them, right? Having a conversation with them about it. But you should also at least once a year be sending out a support specific MPS. It can be embedded in your general MPS question, but you should ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, how is it working with your tech support team, right? And give them a comments box for that. If they're frustrated about it, trust me, they're going to use the comment box and they're going to put the rating in there. And that should give you a general feel of the bigger picture of satisfaction. So we have 2 metrics that we look at for case volume, 2 metrics that we look at for sentiment, 1 CSAT, 1 MPS, and we roll all of those up together into an overall support score.
I like
And
that. Keep it simple, like
we,
just a few metrics, and gives a possibility to your customer to just write whatever like they feel, like how they
yep.
feel. And this really like helps you like have a clear idea. I mean, use it almost as a North Star about like how to improve like your support services, right?
Bingo. Because you can fake, when you do it like that, you can fake 1 or 2, but you can't fake all of those. You can't fake volume and sentiment at the same time. You can fake volume. You can make excuses and justify volume all day long. I could do that too, right? I could justify 1 CSAT as just a bad experience, right? Everybody's going to have a bad experience with your org. Like, hate to say it, but it's probably going to happen. I wish I could tell you that every experience, every time is excellence, but I get my share enough of escalations to know that that's just not the case. Right? So
definitely. And I see like the time is running. Maybe like to finish, do you have any specific advice for the people out there, support leaders who are trying to improve their customer support operation and wants to provide a more human first support? Like, where would you start? Like, well, I don't know if you have anything that comes to mind, but like, what would be like the biggest advice for people who are trying to improve the human first approach?
yeah, it's a great question. First piece of advice that I will say, go through A, the data, and B, the sentiment, right? So go back and pull the stats on your feature areas that you're getting like, let's simplify it. Pull in the data of where your tickets are coming from and the areas that it's taking you the longest to service, right? Then take a look at the sentiment and see what customers are actually saying. Now, I know it's not feasible for everybody to follow up every survey. We do because we've automated the follow-up process as part of this conversation, right? But you should at least be reading the feedback that they are giving you. Another piece of advice I'll give you is, as somebody that gets bombarded on LinkedIn by salespeople, don't auto-ignore them because there's going to be a salesperson there that could honestly give you what you need. I wouldn't be with the vendors that we're at with today if I auto-ignored everybody. I'm not saying answer every single LinkedIn message that you've got, but make sure that you keep your eyes and your ears open to what's out there in the market, right? To what's going to be available. So, it doesn't hurt to take a demo. It doesn't hurt to have a conversation with individuals. And after you've had several conversations, you should be able to laser focus in on the questions and on what your customers need to be able to start asking these different vendors to narrow them down into what it is that you need. I'd love to say that everybody could just write it themselves. And if somebody can, again, good for them.
Oh yeah,
at least for now, you're going to need a vendor
with your own problem. Like me, I like to see the things, in terms of workflow, saying like, okay, so what would be the next flow I need to improve, right? And eventually, like obviously, people don't have the bandwidth to do that, but in an ideal world, would be like almost to go back at treating all the tickets like manually. And every time you have something either recurring or not important, think, okay, this one I'm gonna like automate it, and this is how we're gonna automate it the most efficient way, and this way you'd like tackle them like problem and you have a clear view about like what you need to keep human first and what needs to be like automated, but
Yeah, and you gotta measure though, and you can do that through satisfaction, but you can also as well. We haven't touched on it today, but like I'd recommend as a leader, you get you a power group of customers of yours that you can
yeah,
confide in. A lot of customers like to be a part of advisory councils. They like to be able to give their
I
input,
love
know
it.
that they're actually going to be able to be heard, And I think the way that I would look at it, if I were being asked to start from scratch and come in and consult with an organization on how to do this, I would look at two components. I would look at how well do you feel you're automated and what do your processes look like and what is your sentiment? And I would take it from there. If you tell me that your processes are great, like we have great processes, great automation, but your sentiment is lagging, that's where I'm going to challenge, like, you need more human, right? If you have great sentiment, but your processes aren't great and you feel like your automation isn't where you need it to be, exactly what you said, whiteboard it, think about it, plan it, execute it, but then be like super obnoxious about measuring. Make sure
Definitely.
every one of those cases has a follow-up survey. Make sure you're testing it on a beta group of users. Make sure you're doing all of those motions to be able to say, if I do this, is it making that worse? No? Okay, great. Do more of this, right? If you do this and this starts to get worse, I've erased processes that have been like, man, this is such a great idea, but then the execution just isn't there, right? And you got to be able to just, nope, too much automation. Customer didn't think, I asked for an org ID, but customers have no idea. Am I talking production or sandbox? So it didn't work. X the whole freaking process, start over again, and you got to be able to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. So I guess we're like arriving at an end. I don't know
Yeah.
if you want to add anything else or if you have anything in mind. Guys, if you have any question in the moment, I've seen like a lot of people have been like chatting, but not specific question, like talking about tools and stuff. Anyway, I guess like Steven is will be more than happy to receive a few questions even afterwards. So I guess if you want to reach Steven out via LinkedIn, like you're more than welcome.
Most of what we've done up at this point is, collaboration. I love having conversations with different support leaders, getting their models, their theories, their philosophies, and all of that kind of stuff. In college, it's called plagiarism. In business, it's called collaboration, is what it is.
Right. I guess we're gonna end up on this wise words. Steven, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate. Have a wonderful day. Have a fantastic end of the week, and talk soon, guys. Thank you so much for following us, and take care. Bye.
Thanks.